it's Jess. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to week 3 of the Magical Readathon. We are officially halfway done with the Magical Readathon, and I think for the first time in my personal Magical Readathon history, I am ahead on my classwork. I don't know how this happened. Yes, I do. It's because I read really short books at the start of this. I actually need to go stream, but I wanted to kick this vlog off, get everything started, and welcome you all here. I'm gonna be starting this week's vlog off by reading this week's section of An Unkindness of Magicians. It's roughly 80 pages that I have to read. This is my book club's book for the month, so I've been reading it in chunks, and I will continue to do that throughout the month. But hi, welcome to the vlog. I hope you're having an excellent start to your week this week. I'm gonna go play video games and I'll talk to you later. Hi. Yes, I'm aware I look like shit. I just wanted to film an update because I am officially 3/4 of the way done with An Unkindness of Magicians. This is probably gonna be the shortest update of the vlog because I have reached the point in this book that I can't tell you anything about it. This is an urban fantasy, and it basically is a magical competition between the different factions of the magical world. The competition is meant to kind of like renew the magic source and also determine who is going to like lead the entire magical world, like which of the political factions will lead it. If you want more in-depth thoughts, I do talk a little bit more about this in the week 1 and week 2 vlogs. I explain more about the world and the different subplots that are going on in this book. I feel like I've talked about this book so much because this is the 3rd vlog that I'm talking about it in. I have reached the point where I really can't give any updates in terms of like plot or development. It would definitely spoil major events within the book to talk about it like that. But in case you're wondering how it's going, this book has been hovering between like a 3 and a 4 star the entire time I've been reading it. This like most recent section of it has definitely bumped it closer to the 3 star. This week had like one reveal, which like in my opinion like was not really like a plot twist. I kind of saw it coming, but other than that one reveal, this week's section was kind of like a whole lot of nothing. And because the book is so short, I'm surprised that there was like any point in time where there could be a lull in the plot, because to be honest, like there's a lot that needs to happen and a lot of like loose ends that need to be tied up, and so I'm just really shocked and honestly a little bit disappointed that this 3rd section, I was like, okay. There was definitely a lull and I felt like nothing happened. That being said, I'm going to move on. I will finish up that book in week 4. I need a new book now, and I have decided to start the last book that I need for my alchemy class. In order to learn how to turn silver into gold, I need to read the last book in a series, and thankfully I have Spells Like Teen Spirit, which is the last book in the Babysitter Coven series. This is a young adult sort of like urban contemporary fantasy, and this series is basically pitched like Buffy combined with the Babysitters Club. It's super like silly, goofy times, like very fun, very campy, like extremely campy, but like it's just, you know, silly, goofy, good vibes. And it's less than 400 pages and it is a young adult, so I think that this will be pretty easy to get through. I will check in later when I have something to say about Spells Like Teen Spirit. morning, everyone. As you can see, I am very freshly out of the shower. My hair is super wet, but my skin is feeling so nice right now. I did like my full skincare routine. It is several days later and I finished another book. I'm kind of like kicking ass at this magical readathon. Like, I don't think my vlogs are like particularly kicking ass. I've done so many more vlogs this year than like last year, and I do feel like they're all getting like kind of repetitive and the same, and I do feel like the quality is going down on them. However, in terms of like reading, I'm kicking ass. I finished Spells Like Teen Spirit. So this is good. This has me finishing another series that I was in the middle of. I had a great time in this book. Now, here's the thing. I really enjoy this series, but it's not one that I necessarily like broadly recommend. I think that like this is a series for like a certain group of readers, and only when you're in like a certain mood, because like these are very much books that like you should not take seriously at all. This is just like a super silly, goofy, fun time. It is just pure entertainment and pure fun. I mentioned before that this series is pitched as Buffy the Vampire Slayer meets the Babysitter's Club. That's like exactly it. You follow Esme in here. She is like the main POV character. Esme discovers that she has a magical ability, and she can also like say spells and like do magic that way. And she kind of like teams up in the first book with the new girl, and they meet like a mentor figure, and the three of them kind of work together to chase down demons and send them back to the demon realm. Every single time I read this series, I'm having a blast. I'm smiling. It's just so silly and goofy and like so very unserious. And I think it was like the perfect book to pick up for a readathon. I will say that like Esme and her best friend are both like obsessed with fashion, and so like they do talk a lot about like their clothes and like what they wear in this. And like I want to make it clear, it's not like in like the Gossip Girl name dropping type of way. It's more just that like you can tell that Kate Williams likes fashion, and so like she put that into the main character. It is kind of a lot. I had forgotten that it is a lot until I like started reading this. Like honestly, it's fine. I don't have a problem. It's not a criticism of this. It's just like a character trait. I did want to make it like super extremely clear though that if you don't like camp, don't pick up this series. Like this is like campy to like the furthest degree possible. It's so campy, and if you don't like camp, you're not gonna have a good time. You can't. You might have noticed I didn't tell you anything specifically about this book. I can't. It is the final book in a series. Overall, I am giving this a 3-star read. You know, it's just a silly, goofy, fun time. Because I am a mood reader, I have decided that I want to flip back to the alchemy side quest. I'm not going to say anything that is a spoiler for the alchemy side quest. I will just say that I have reached a point in the quest where I have to make decisions while I am looking for something. And I'm not even gonna say what the prompt is. I'm just gonna say that the first place I'm looking, I will be reading Blood Price by Vela Roth for that. Honestly, I think I'm literally gonna go sit down and read all of this in one sitting. This is like a super short novel that is a prequel to the Blood Gray series involving some of the side characters in that. I think I'm literally gonna go sit down and read this. I will talk to you about this book when I finish it, which should be a couple hours from now. Hello, it is 3-ish hours later, and I have finished Blood Price, another book down for the alchemy quest line. Unfortunately, I picked wrong. So on the quest to search for the item that I need, I looked in the wrong location. So I'm still on the same part of the alchemy quest, so I will have to go search in another location. But this means that I am fully, completely up to date on the Blood Gray series, and overall, I really did enjoy this book. I have been ranting and raving about the Blood Gray series for months now. It is a new all-time favorite series. It is a fantasy romance, definitely heavier on the romance than the fantasy. The series overall follows Cassia and Leo, and Leo is a Hesperine, which is a vampire. That's just what they're called in this world. Honestly, I don't have time really to get into the full series. Just know that it is a current obsession of mine and I love it. This book follows some side characters that you will learn about, I think, like 3 or 4 books into the series. And basically this is just like the story of how they met, obviously how like they turned into Hesperines. Even though technically this book does happen before the Blood Gray series, I do not recommend starting with it. A, because it will give a little bit of like spoilery things going on, but also I don't think that this book is as well like planned out and written as the rest of the series. I think Vella Roth just like wrote this as like a fun little side project. It still made me really happy and had me smiling to read this, but I do think that the rest of the series is better written. The biggest issue with this book for me personally was that it was like extremely instant lovey, and I mean, honestly, overall, the whole series has moments of convenience in it. A lot of times in the Blood Gray series, part of the charm of the series is that the conflicts are often handled in a very idealistic way. Like, if the world was perfect, this is how we would solve this conflict. And for me personally, that's one of the things that I like about the series, because it provides me with like escapism. And I'm like, man, wouldn't it be nice if we could just give people rights without violent protests because people are being murdered in the streets? You know, I like fantasy series letting me get escapism from that, and I do like the little bit of idealism. Due to that idealism, I would say that like the series does have some convenience throughout the whole series, and it's not to the point where like it's overwhelming. It's no shade, but it's not as bad as Sarah J. Maas's convenience. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. I think because Vella Roth wanted this to be just like a short little novella, that she just kind of made things really convenient, and she also like definitely had the characters fall in love like extremely quickly over the course of like just a couple days. If Vella Roth wanted to avoid the instant love and avoid the conveniences that occur in this book, it would have had to be like triple the length, and I think that they just didn't want to do that. And so, you know, they made some choices about this book in order to keep it short, and you know, that's fine. It did make this novella slightly less enjoyable for me, but only compared to the rest of the series, which is all between like a 4 and a 5-star read. So like, this is still really good. Like, it's still worth my time. It still made me super happy to read. I really enjoyed myself in here, so it's a win. I'm still giving this 3 stars, which is a really good rating. And that's another book down in the magical readathon. Okay, I still have to finish my first alchemy spell, turning stone into copper, and for that I am reading The Unkindness of Magicians, like I mentioned. So next week when I finish that, I will complete my entire alchemy class. But other than that, I only have one more spell to learn. For my inscription class, I need to learn my shields and wards spell, and for that I will be reading Legends and Lattes. For this spell, I need a book with a shield on the cover, and I know that the US cover does not have a shield on it, but the UK cover does, and so I am using it. I have been wanting to read Legends and Lattes for so long, and I'm so excited to finally have a chance to read this. It's gonna be so fun. It's also only like 250 pages, so it's gonna be pretty short to read. Here we go. I will probably check in like a couple days from now, maybe even tomorrow. I don't know how long it's gonna take me to read this, but later. Guess who has finished all of her classes but one? I'm so proud of myself. I have never ever moved through the magical readathon this quickly. Also, I read Legends and Lattes in less than a day. It is the next day because I didn't feel like filming myself when I was laying in bed looking like a goblin. But oh my gosh, this was such a fast read. It was so cute and wholesome and heartwarming. If you're wondering if this book lives up to the hype, it absolutely does. This book is everything everybody says it is. It is so sweet and endearing and just charming. I love it. It is a delight. This story follows Viv, and she's an orc and she has been an adventurer for years, but she is tired of that, and so she decides that she is going to take all of her savings and she is going to open up a coffee shop. This story is just like about the day-to-day of opening a new business and hiring people to work for you and convincing like random fantasy creatures who don't know what coffee even is that actually, yes, they do love coffee. The tagline for this is high fantasy, low stakes. I felt so relaxed and hopeful when I was finished reading this book. If you are dealing with any sort of anxiety, I highly recommend reading this book. It will definitely help your anxiety. Also, I want to go on record and say that I love Thimble and I would die for them. Overall, I'm giving this book 4 stars. I have 0 complaints about this book, and I want to make that very clear. I don't think anything about this book should be changed. And so you may be wondering, like, if I have no complaints and I don't think anything should be changed, how come I'm giving it 4 stars and not 5? And honestly, it's just like a personal thing. The entire point of reading this book is to just hang out and spend time with the characters. With the time that you have with them in terms of like page count, there wasn't enough time for me to get the emotional payoff that I would have needed in order for this to be a 5-star book. And I know that that is definitely just a me thing. I love the characters in here and I did get attached to them. I just didn't get that like extra over the top emotional payoff that would have pushed this from a 4-star into a 5-star. And again, I do not think this book should be any longer. I think it is the perfect length. So I don't think that this could have changed in any way to make this a 5-star for me. I think that for me, this is just a 4-star book, and for other people, it'll be a 5-star book. But I will read every single book in this series until the day I die. I also think that this is one of those series where if Travis Baldree keeps putting out books in this series and they're all like, you know, high fantasy, low stakes, I think that over time I will get that emotional payoff that like I am looking for, and I will get like those little butterflies. And I don't mean like butterflies like romantically, I just mean like serotonin butterflies that like makes you just smile until your cheeks hurt, basically. I think that this is a series that's just gonna keep getting better and better and keep getting more and more satisfying and more heartwarming. For what this book is, it is perfectly written. I highly recommend this book. I guess that brings us to the end of week 3. I cannot believe that we're already at the end of week 3. I read 3 1/4 books this week. If week 4 is as good as the previous weeks have been, this is gonna be the best magical readathon that I have ever been a part of, at least in terms of like enjoyment of the books. This has just been such a good, fun experience, and I'm reading so many books that are just like really making my heart feel so full. This is such a good experience. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. Stay safe, stay hydrated. I don't know where you are, but in the US, there are a lot of places that are going through a heat wave right now. So stay cool, stay hydrated, and I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye!